So here's a very quick video on the Brooks Cascadia trail running shoe. The history of Brooks is vaguely interesting if you're that into that kind of thing. I used to run with Brooks trainers and the Cascadias back in about 2012 when they were really good. They were quite cutting edge at the time, and then sometime around 2013 the accountants got hold of the company and the shoes got progressively weirder and progressively worse, and they started falling apart a lot on the materials that we use, that kind of thing, and I moved away from Cascadia. It's kind of nice to come back to them now and see that the build quality's improved again. These are the 13 Cascadia 13s. They're certainly not as cutting edge or edgy as they used to be. They're much more boring now. And if this review sounds weird, it's the fact that they're so boring and inoffensive that kind of what makes them an ideal shoe for some people. There's no gimmicks on these shoes anymore, which can be a really good thing. If you're relatively new to trail running, then there's nothing here that's going to offend or shock. They're not too narrow, but they're not too wide. The mesh is perfectly reasonable. The cushioning is okay up until about marathon distance, although I wouldn't use these for beyond marathon distance. The grip underneath is sort of good enough for most kind of terrain, but nothing too tricky. The only real gripe about them is the laces are ridiculously long and I tend to cut them down. So if this is a bit of a strange review, these are the kind of most boring running shoe you can possibly buy. But because of that, because they're so inoffensive, because they're kind of semi alright at everything, you can't really go wrong with them. So you know, that's it really. There's not a lot more to talk about them. There's nothing particularly special about them. That is literally it for the Brooks Cascadia. But it's, you know, it's interesting actually that when you're not sure about a trail running shoe, you know, sometimes boring is best. So there you go. That's a bit of a look at the Brooks Cascadia. Probably the weirdest video review you've ever had from anybody. But I try out a lot of shoes and these are, you know, inoffensive. So there you go.